We are now a month into John Cena actively trying to ruin professional wrestling. But here's the thing. John Cena is not the first, and he certainly will not be the last to ruin professional wrestling, because from time to time, wrestling just sort of ruins itself. Heck, if you were to believe the internet wrestling community on Twitter, wrestling gets ruined like once a week. But in my lifetime of watching professional wrestling, I've had several moments where I've almost come close to never turning on WWE again, whether it's a terrible match, a horrible decision, maybe I just got bored of a bad product, or maybe it was a moment that was so cringe that it made me embarrassed to turn the WWE product on again. And I know that you've had many of these moments as well, which is why I asked you on Twitter, what was the moment that almost made you stop watching WWE? I grabbed a whole bunch of your answers, so we're gonna talk about them. I do these types of videos every once in a while on X, so make sure that you're following me over there if you want to participate. Link in the description. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. I have a feeling that this video is gonna bring up some bad memories for many of you because there are some bad moments that you guys sent in. That's enough. Let's go ahead and get started. 10-year-old me couldn't handle this promo. I stopped watching until about 3 years ago because Edge left in 2011. So this was a pretty common answer, and not just necessarily Edge leaving the WWE, but certain WWE superstar no longer being with the WWE. Because if you fall in love with a certain performer, a certain character, and that's the reason why you tune into that show every single day, and all of a sudden they're no longer there, it's a pretty reasonable reason as to why you might stop watching that product. And it's not just exclusive to WWE. A lot of people, for example, stopped watching 2.5 Men when they lost Charlie Sheen because that was the character that they wanted to watch. And if you lost Edge, your favorite WWE superstar, then yeah, I can see why you would stop watching the product. I've had several of these moments. The most obvious one for me is losing Eddie Guerrero when he passed away, because that was one of the guys that I gravitated to as a Latino. That is a guy that I saw myself in, and when he unfortunately passed away, I lost one of the reasons as to why I tuned in every single week. So this is a very common reason why people stop watching WWE. I will always refer to this match. Damn near broke me. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, Universal Championship of WrestleMania 34. This is egregious for the biggest reason of all, which is a match that no one wanted and a match that literally no one cared about. It was a rock in a hard place. It was a lose-lose situation for fans because we were either going to get Brock Lesnar as champion, a guy that showed up like 6 days a year and nobody wanted him to hold that championship hostage, or Roman Reigns, a guy that was being booed out of the building, that fans were screaming from the top of their lungs, we don't want this guy. And WWE still decided to go with a main event between these two that nobody asked for. This was unfortunately an era where WWE was basically spitting on whatever fans actually wanted, and this was peak Vince McMahon delusion. None. I've suffered it all. Nothing can kill my love for the game now. Respect, soldier, because you've seen a lot, and a lot of stuff that could make you stop watching wrestling, but you've stuck through it all. Respect, my friend. This is 4 of my childhood favorites, and to see them face off in a tag team competition is a dream of mine, but this was no doubt 15 to 20 years too late. So I could see this being infuriating, but I don't see how this could necessarily ruin wrestling in the future of wrestling, but I could see it like ruining your childhood and your memories of professional wrestling. And memories is one of the most important things that professional wrestling can generate for you. I have so many long-lasting memories of when I watched when I was a kid, and if those memories were all of a sudden to get tarnished for a quick Saudi payday, I'd be pissed too, brother. Watching this pay-per-view live, I had the expectation of Christian Cage to cash in, and then for it to end like that, and it still pisses me off to this day. Christian Cage deserved better. I know that this is mostly about WWE, but this is a recent one. Holy hell was this bad. Just continuing to perpetuate this storyline of the Death Riders and continue to have Jon Moxley as the world champion when no one wants this. Have Christian Cage burn his championship contract like this. At the very least, we had the Hollywood ending match in this pay-per-view, but the ending of this was atrocious. This wasn't fun. Listen, when it comes to Jinder Mahal as WWE champion, I gaslit myself at the time that this was a good idea. I'm like, yeah, SmackDown is the land of opportunity. Let's give everyone an opportunity. And it didn't really take long to realize, oh God, what a terrible decision to make Jinder Mahal champion, because he just wasn't very good. He wasn't good enough to be WWE champion. Let's just call it what it is. And if this is the guy that you're featuring and he's not a very good performer, it can be easy to understand understand why people would tune out of whatever it is that you're trying to peddle to us. WWE on Netflix is the best thing ever. I get Raw, NXT, SmackDown, every WWE Premium Live event, and a giant catalog of old shows with my Netflix subscription. Unfortunately, that isn't the case for everyone, as many of you have to watch these shows on traditional cable where you just get peppered with lame commercials. And while you're on commercials, I get more of the WWE shows that I love. So let's fix that today with today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. With Surfshark, you can easily change your location to say the Great White North of Canada, and you'll actually be able to get the Netflix programming for whatever region that you switch to, which of course means that you'll get all of your favorite WWE shows without any commercials. Plus, while you're there, you can just watch some of the shows that are exclusive to Canadian Netflix or whatever region that you switch to. You can also just try Surfshark risk-free because of their 30-day money-back guarantee policy, but it gets even better because if you visit surfshark.com/SantiYT, you're gonna actually get 4 additional months on a 2-year plan. And since WWE's with Netflix for the next 5 years, you're gonna get plenty of use out of this. Again, that's surfshark.com/SantiYT to get 4 additional months. By the way, shout out if you noticed that I changed shirts. Thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get you back to talking about wrestling. Becoming a teenager, moving halfway across the world, and the Thunderdome era just generally being awful combined made me quit for nearly 3 years. To be honest, the only reason I came back initially is because I found out WrestleMania was going to be in my hometown of Los Angeles. So real life circumstances like what you mentioned, moving across the world basically, that does bring a lot of new life experiences and a lot of new stresses. For example, one of the times that I stopped watching wrestling was when I moved, which coincided with me starting high school. So it was a lot of new stresses as a young teenager at the time. And I didn't want to watch wrestling anymore. I wasn't feeling it anymore. Now the Thunderdome era, I don't talk about this enough. I basically stopped watching wrestling altogether here. I basically only kept up with professional wrestling by watching the YouTube clips on the WWE YouTube channel because I couldn't bear to watch weekly TV without fans. Fans are just important, way too important to this product. I hated this moment a lot. Wait, did you hate Drew winning or did you hate Drew burning the briefcase? I don't think either of those, at least for me, would ruin professional wrestling, but Drew burning that briefcase damn near killed the Money in the Bank briefcase's like aura and importance for me. CM Punk walking out in 2014, and I legit stopped watching shortly after he came back into AEW. So when CM Punk left the WWE, it wasn't really announced that CM Punk was gone from the WWE. He just sort of stopped showing up, and I wasn't part of the internet wrestling circle. I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't on forums, so I didn't know that he had properly left. He just stopped appearing, and I certainly lost interest in the product the less that we got of CM Punk, because at this time he was definitely my favorite performer. I kind of resonate a lot with the Attitude Era people when they say that they stopped watching when they lost Stone Cold Steve Austin, and compare it a lot to this. A lot of people did stop watching WWE when CM Punk was no longer part of the product because a lot of people felt like he was the best thing going, especially in a time when WWE was so hyper fixated on pushing John Cena. He was a breath of fresh air, and to no longer have him there basically just sort of felt like you were force-fed John Cena moving forward. One thing jumped straight into my mind, and it was this complete travesty right here. People wonder how Punk never got a main event in this prime. It was because of garbage like this. This reign and heel turn deserved to main event. Heck, I would have taken a triple threat between him, Cena, and The Rock over Twice in a Lifetime. I think that this is the first Mania I didn't watch. I think that this is when I started to become self-aware that WWE didn't give two singular shits about what fans actually wanted, and didn't care about putting the fan favorite in the most prosperous position, because CM Punk was beloved by everyone in any arena that he went to. And this is when I had that realization of, oh, but he's not Cena and The Rock, and this is who WWE wants to showcase for WrestleMania, and so they're going to shove CM Punk to the side like he was vermin, which is just awful, because I agree, this should have been a triple threat match between Cena, Punk, and The Rock, and it would have been infinitely more interesting, and maybe would have prevented The Rock from getting injured, from having to carry and be part of another 20+ minute main event, when he could have split the workload between John Cena and a workhorse in CM Punk. Roman Reigns' leukemia announcement, an emotional gut punch that made me step back from wrestling quite a bit. I resonate with this, man. Anytime that big, serious, real life news comes out from the wrestlers, I always take a step back. Of course, Eddie Guerrero is prime example. I wasn't really watching weekly especially during the Chris Benoit stuff. But when that happened, I really stepped away from professional wrestling. So I totally get where you're coming from, because yeah, like sometimes when it gets too real, it gets difficult to watch the fictional aspect of the product when you know that there's real life performers going through some serious stuff and like there in front of your eyes, but they're not showing it. Literally this. I know a lot of people will say this, but it was truly this. I had recently gotten back into wrestling the previous year after about 3 years away, and they almost lost me again because I thought that they were going to do the same thing that drove me away, not listening to the fans. Ah, yes, Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble and then WWE seemingly choosing to give his Rumble victory to The Rock so that we could get The Rock versus Roman Reigns. A lot of people think that people were just mad about the idea of Rock versus Roman. We weren't. We were just mad about WWE treating us like idiots and all of a sudden taking the sanctity of the Royal Rumble victory and completely stepping on it. And yeah, you're right. It was because they weren't listening to fans. And many of the reasons that are being pitched to me right now in this video is because WWE didn't listen to fans. That to me is a tale as old as time. And I don't think it's ever going to properly get better. I think that this will always be an issue. What the fans want versus what the corporate dudes at TKO and WWE want to peddle. But hey, at the very least, this created one of the coolest social media movements that I've ever seen. Hashtag We Want Cody is something that I'm never going to forget, and something that if you were there to experience is something that you're probably going to talk about for a really long time as a wrestling fan. When Brock Lesnar broke the Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 30, that moment shattered my faith. At the time, I couldn't stand seeing Brock on TV, and that it actually made me stop watching WWE altogether for a while. This didn't kill WWE for me or ruin it for me, but this definitely ruined the allure of The Undertaker at WrestleMania moving forward. The matches that he would go on to have after this, for me, were just sort of shoulder shrugs. Like, okay, cool, that's fine, a legend, The Undertaker, but like, dude, like your whole thing was the streak and it's no longer there. And so in a way, the streak ending kind of killed a little bit of the magic of WrestleMania moving forward for me. The Demon versus Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules 2021. The ending was so sudden, confusing, and disappointing. I genuinely feel like this was the downfall of Finn and he deserves a bigger push. Oh yeah, this was definitely the downfall of Finn Balor. This is an easy one to be able to pinpoint. Like this right here is where everything started going downhill. This was a stupid ending. Like I don't like when we have a happenstance ending, something lucky like this, something that just doesn't make sense, something that is just way too convenient. I know we have stuff like that happen from time to time in WWE, like for example, how Ethan Page won the NXT championship, but that was clever. This was stupid. And it was one of those like cringe moments where if you're like watching it with a friend that's maybe watching wrestling for the first time, because you're like, yeah, watch Extreme Rules. Cool shit happens. This is an easy one to introduce to new wrestling fans. And then it ends like this. And now you're having to explain that God was the reason why Finn Balor lost. And you had to explain the heart palpitation thing. Yeah, I don't blame anybody for being pissed at WWE for having to explain this garbage. Not gonna lie, this moment right here, in the moment, I was upset. In hindsight, it wasn't that bad, but in the moment, I was ready to hang it up. Oh yeah, there's a lot of in the moment, like I hate this in the moment, but then you can go back and look at it and it's like, all right, that wasn't necessarily the worst thing ever. I know that a lot of people were just sick and tired of Roman Reigns holding the championship, so it wasn't necessarily just about Cody Rhodes being champion. I feel like a lot of people just wanted Roman Reigns to no longer be the champion so that the champion could be there every single week and that we didn't have to just put our eggs in the basket of Roman Reigns every single major show. But a lot of people were pissed at this. I wasn't. I was down for Roman Reigns to hold for longer. I wanted him to go well beyond the 1,000 days. But yeah, a lot of people were pissed at this. The introduction of the spinner belt, I just hated it so much. Dude, I remember when this was introduced, how many of my friends legitimately just thought that wrestling became stupid. That the belt had been turned into a toy and they no longer thought that wrestling was cool or edgy and that it was getting corny. And as much as I do love John Cena, I do think that he bears a lot of the responsibility for many of the fans that we lost during the back end of the Ruthless Aggression era. Took a break after this episode. Oh yeah, we talked about like cringe moments. Again, if you had to explain to somebody the dog food scene with Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns, and Dolph Ziggler, good luck, brother, because there was no defending this, because this was one of the dumbest, cringiest things that I've seen WWE ever produce. Not a specific moment, but Raw in 2019, I literally stopped watching anything wrestling related from SummerSlam to the Royal Rumble. I swear I forced myself to watch the Royal Rumble. Yeah, there is such things as just like terrible years. Like for me, I think of like 2011 2011, 2012, like being some of those like really, really bad years of professional wrestling. 2019 is up there amongst one of the worst years that I've ever had to endure. This is the year that made me not watch wrestling as often as I did. Like I would routinely miss episodes of Raw and SmackDown and just catch up on the YouTube channel. I did still watch every single PLE at this time, but that's pretty much the only thing I would religiously watch because 2019 was the height of Vince McMahon delusional booking. And not just that, it wasn't just like this is a terrible decision, but just episodes of Raw would end constantly with roll-ups, 50-50 booking, disqualifications. They were just so afraid to do anything of consequence. During the 2021 WWE releases, when especially after Toni Storm requested hers, I did watch and unfollowed all WWE related sites for several weeks as part of my support for those who had been released. Dude, the 2021 apocalyptic releases is something that hopefully we never have to see again. Just Google WWE Superstars release in 2021 and you'll literally be scrolling. And they release like some big names in this year. I literally would spend too long having to list them off. Obviously, Toni Storm is a big name that ended up becoming a huge megastar somewhere else. So there were some silver lining stories, something to celebrate. But for the most part, man, it was scorched earth for many WWE fans that lost some of their favorite performers in this year. Not even a question. Oh God, yeah, this is from my era, the Katie Vick thing. For those that don't know, Triple H defiled a corpse on TV. Yeah, he had sex with a corpse. Yeah, that's exactly. This match right here legitimately made me check out. 2010 to 2014 had bad moments, but this was egregious. Plus, it was one of the first Manias that I actually purchased with my own money. $69 and 3 hours of my time and money that I will never get back. Dude, I would just be pissed too. If this was the first WrestleMania that I ever purchased with my own hard-earned cash, WrestleMania 27, I would just feel scammed. I would never want to give the WWE money again. Now, of course, the Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler match is the height of the pinnacle of the dog shit that was WrestleMania 27. Like this thing went on for like half an hour. The match was like 10 minutes and then all of the post-match shenanigans stuff went on for like another 20 minutes as well. This was like legitimately tragic and I feel so sad and so bad that you spent your money on this. I pirated the hell out of this pay-per-view. If anything was gonna make me stop watching, this was the closest. Oh yeah, man, The Fiend versus Seth Rollins, that Hell in a Cell match, a Hell in a Cell match that ends in a no contest, a referee stoppage because it got too violent. This is an insult to fans, right? It's an insult to anybody that's watched wrestling for any amount of time that knows that this isn't supposed to happen in a Hell in a Cell match. It's an insult to our intelligence as well. I understand what they were trying to do. Like, oh my God, Seth Rollins went too far, but bro, it's Hell in a Cell. That's the whole reason you put them in there so that they can go too far. This was egregious. This was stupid. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Oh my God, yeah, Brock Lesnar defeating Kofi Kingston in 5 seconds to become WWE champion. This was the worst of both worlds. One, again, just sort of insulting the intelligence of fans by feeding a champion that we got behind, that we rallied behind, that we propelled to one of the main events of WrestleMania that year in Kofi Kingston, and feeding him to the guy that for years we've been saying we do not want as champions. Why? I returned to WWE back in 2022 and never looked back until this match. I'm still considering if I want to watch. Hey, remember when everybody online at the time was like, well, what were you expecting? He's trying to ruin wrestling. No, this was complete ass in every single way, shape, and form. This is one of the worst WrestleMania main events that I've watched in a very, very long time, albeit a solid WrestleMania, but the way that it ended was just tragic. I was this close from quitting WWE. Raw after Mania brought me back. I know that celebrities are such a huge and integral part really to the history of professional wrestling in general. Like you can date it back as early as the first WrestleMania and even before then. So just the idea of Travis Scott being involved in the WWE doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that he was in the WrestleMania main event. What bothers me is that this man took like a solid 7 minutes to get down to the ramp thinking he was the Undertaker in the middle of a main event. And what bothers me is that he was the reason why history was made and that 17 was broken, that John Cena became the 17-time world champion. This, if I wasn't so ingrained in the world of WWE as I am now, I might have considered this as a WWE ruining moment. I left, genuinely left, canceled my WWE network the moment that the credits rolled. It was just so offensive to the talent that worked to be in that match, so Brock could just waltz in and take it for the lulz. Here's the thing, they're not exaggerating celebrating. He literally waltzed in and took it for the lulz. He wasn't in the match. His music hits, and then he walks down and then goes up and grabs the briefcase. He wasn't part of the 20-minute slobber knocker that was happening. Why? I don't understand WWE's like straight up fascination with feeding us Brock Lesnar when we didn't need to be fed Brock Lesnar. Why are you giving this beast, this monster that can just waltz in at any moment and get a championship opportunity, the Money in the Bank briefcase? The Money in the Bank briefcase is one of these things that allows wrestling fans to be wide-eyed and hopeful that something cool, something new, something unique might happen, and then you do this garbage? Yeah, this is ass. Jeff Hardy losing to CM Punk in 2009 literally left me heartbroken, depressed, and in tears for almost a year until he returned to TNA, which left me happy again. I'll never resonate with this, but dude, I had to include this because so many people love Jeff Hardy, and when Jeff Hardy left the WWE for his own reasons or forced to be out of the WWE, there are always so many sad fans because this guy, man, I swear to God, he's created some of the most hardcore fans that I've ever seen in WWE. Again, I don't resonate, but I wanted to include it because I know a lot of you do. This shit was so ass. Oh my God, dude, the 2022 Royal Rumble, oh my God. This is like peak awful Vince McMahon booking. Again, if I wasn't a wrestling content creator, which at this point I had just started, I think I legitimately would have checked out. I don't think that I would have watched the Road to WrestleMania or WrestleMania 38. This was bad. Having Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey win, the two people that literally, the two people nobody wanted to win those Rumbles go on to win the frickin' Rumble matches. It's like WWE was doing it on purpose at this time, just completely going against whatever the fans asked and clamored for. It's not even as if the fans were asking for anyone in specific. The fans were just asking for just not those two. The booking of this match right here after Brock won one of the worst Royal Rumbles of all time had me missing WrestleMania 38 entirely. This was the closest I came to falling out of professional wrestling again after 2019. Oh yeah, and then they followed it up with a genius decision to have an Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship that Brock Lesnar won. Oh yeah, but Brock Lesnar already won the Royal Rumble, so he went into WrestleMania as a champion, so why burn the Royal Rumble victory on Brock Lesnar? It made no goddamn sense. I swear to God, there was cordyceps growing in Vince McMahon's brain at this point. They got rid of my NXT Black and Gold for this shit. I'm still mad that they buried all of the Black and Gold talent because it was better than the main roster. This ruined wrestling for me, specifically NXT wrestling. I did not tune into NXT for literal years after this happened because NXT Black and Gold was something special, and they for all intents and purposes took it out back and shot it in the back of the brain. It was sad what they did with NXT Black and Gold, and I refuse to give NXT 2.0 a chance. I eventually, after a long time, I eventually gave NXT a chance again, and I'm hooked again, and I watch NXT every single week, but I goddamn refused to watch NXT 2.0 when it came out initially. Brock versus Goldberg at Survivor Series is the moment I said I will never go to another pay-per-view. It was a waste of money. I'm realizing a very common trend here. Many of these include Brock Lesnar. By the way, I also went to this pay-per-view, but I vividly remember people kind of digging this. Like the arena was kind of in shock and in awe that the main event ended this way, and I was kind of into it. I mean, listen, if you bought this pay-per-view, whether it was to go in person or to watch it on TV at the time, and you felt like you purchased this for a long main event, then yeah, you got scammed. But in the arena, I feel like the buzz was pretty palpable and people kind of like this. This killed the Fiend gimmick. Not only that, but I feel like his career never recovered from this moment. Bray Wyatt will always be one of the most untapped talents in company history. His mind and the potential that he had will always be remembered. A true dark time in WWE. Yeah, I checked out after this for a while. The Fiend was one of the things in like the 2019 era that like hooked me. I was like, oh my God, everything that's going on around in the WWE is just a dumpster fire. But this Fiend thing, this half Mr. Rogers, half monstrous demon that was a new incarnation of Bray Wyatt, it won me over. I was at SummerSlam 2019 for the debut of the Fiend, and I'm like, holy hell, I'm back in. Kind of like in 2011 where everything else sucked, but CM Punk was amazing. He was this beacon of light, and I stuck around because of CM Punk. That was 2019 for me in the Fiend. I stuck around for the Fiend when everything else was so bad, and just like the summer of Punk, they took the one thing that was working at the time, and simply because it wasn't Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, they fed him to Goldberg for some stupid, asinine reason, and I don't think he ever recovered from this. Like, in terms of how scary and important the Fiend felt, after this, it just was never never the same. They killed this character with this decision. All right, folks, you depressed? I kind of am, but that's it. Goodbye. Get out of here.